Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Another Monday morning, another UBS Live. As requested last week, we want to be talking about numbers and how to look at them and what to understand about them, or what kind of numbers are important to know in our businesses in order for us to have a sustainable and long-term business. But before we begin, I always start about 5 minutes earlier just to organize all the logistical bits and pieces and for you guys to notice that I have gone on live, and that way we can get going with this morning's call. So I'm just going to share my live in a couple of the groups that this also gets promoted in. All right, here we go. So I'll get that. Good morning, Penelope. Great to see you. Almost my turn to visit Queensland soon. I will be coming up obviously in September for a bit of a holiday for a week and then doing all the Queensland events. I'm super excited about that. Last week I did the ACT in New South Wales leg. Good morning, Lee. Nice to see you as well. I'm just trying to do 3 things at once, so I'm getting myself distracted. All right, so that was the one share. I was just going to do 2 shares of these in my Ultimate Business Support group and in my Author Your Way to Riches groups. And that way we can get going and talk about our topic this morning. And this is very handy to have all the computers all around me. Okay, so nearly there. Here we go. Boom. Excellent. All right, so this video is now shared and live in Ultimate Business Support, in Author Your Way to Riches, and obviously on my personal profile. Okay, so yeah, last week, just a bit of a recap before the official start at 9 a.m. I traveled out to Canberra. I had never done this before. I had 3 events back to back. And I traveled to Canberra first, then I drove across to Sydney for 3.5 hours, then drove across to what is it called? To Newcastle for the very first time. So it was full on, but I have to say it was really rewarding. It was a lot of fun. I met lots of new people. We welcomed new authors into our community. We've got a couple more that we're finalizing bits and pieces today, and it's all on. It's like a hot time of the year right now. I don't know how you guys are going, but usually spring and autumn, which is obviously for our start of the year, and then springtime are kind of the periods where it's all really happening. And I've noticed that that's been reported back in other countries as well. So you do most of your work during those periods, so you guys know. I'm just going to turn this off. It's getting me distracted because I can see myself in the background on the video that's coming through on the computer. Yeah, so it is a really hot time of the year right now. Lots of people are doing stuff. Lots of people are taking action, making decisions. How am I going to finish the year? How am I going to do this and that to wrap it all up and finish off strong in 2017. So do put in the most effort right now. Like, this is, what they say, you sow right now and you reap at the end of the year when it is summertime and everyone's kind of on a break and taking holidays and all that sort of stuff. I've seen historically that August and September in the last 7 years were my most successful months, most profitable months, sales-wise. Just a lot of things happen around this time, and also February and March are also months that lots of stuff happens as well as people come back into the new year. And then people hide away a little bit during the winter time, and so on and so forth. So if you are running events and you do run events, the best times to obviously have most of them on is around spring, and that's when I do my 2 national tours here in Australia, and that's what we will be doing as well internationally as well. Awesome. So it's about 9 a.m. And let's get started on our topic on numbers tell you business destiny. And it's really, really, really important from day one. Good morning, Kitty and Margie and Rans. Welcome to you all. And please post any comments or questions as I go through this this morning. I have got my little notes sheet right here. I don't really prepare a ton to talk about this because this is just like everyday kind of stuff for me. I just wanted to make sure that I cover as much as possible for you guys. So numbers tell you business destiny, and I'm going to talk about different types of numbers, not just sales, not just dollars, but the kind of things that you are doing that you should be measuring and looking at in your business on a daily, weekly basis, and then obviously monthly and yearly. My first thing that I started doing, and I'm kind of going to rewind back of what I used to look at in the very early days of being new in business, and then I'm going to obviously talk about the things that I have learned of late and when you're doing paid advertising and all that kind of stuff. So income and expenses. I started out not having an accounting system, as most of us do, with a spreadsheet on Excel, and we're kind of just noting down what's coming in, what's coming out, and then we take that kind of Excel spreadsheet to our accountant, which is fine as long as you know you're doing it regularly and you're documenting everything that's happened in your business. What a lot of people don't do is just do absolutely nothing. So back when I was brand new, I had one Excel spreadsheet template, which at the top had the week dates, starting and ending, and then I had income, and then obviously a date column, a description and what it was, and then expenses, and then date, description, and then a balance at the bottom of the sheet. So I used to fill that out and complete that every Sunday, but daily in the bottom of my planner, you guys know that my planner has like daily things here. I would write down different things that may have happened that I may forget. Because often when it comes to numbers and accounting, unless we document or we're doing these things regularly, especially I love that my planner reminds me on the 3rd of every month, it's time to do your bookkeeping, right? So to reconcile the month before. Because so many times, even just in a month of reconciliation, sometimes Stuart and I can get stuck. Good morning, Carly. Stuart and I can get stuck on 1 or 2 transactions. What was this for? What is this, right? But because we do it so regularly and so on time, we always figure it out in our mind. But if you leave your stuff when it comes to income and expenses over a long period of time, you're not going to remember. Good morning, Christian. You're not going to remember what things were. And so when I was fresh and brand new, for probably two years, I had these, I used to keep these spreadsheet templates into one of those display books where you put in, back to front and all that sort of stuff. And I could see week after week what was coming in and out. Now, some of you might go, but yeah, I'm not making any income. I'm spending stuff, but I'm not making. You need to get work the muscle for doing this stuff really, really regularly. So I don't care if my income was pretty much empty for a long time, but my expenses, I was taking note of what I was spending stuff on. And so I continuously just did it. On a Sunday night, I would type it up properly, but throughout the week, I would just write it down on the bottom of each day if I had spent something or something came in or I made a sale and all that. And even though there were tiny numbers, those numbers changed and grew and expanded, and then it got a lot more complicated. And of course, I needed to invest into the accounting system that I use even nowadays. And now I can obviously look at my numbers and things as I enter stuff and I do my reconciliations, and I can have reports. But the very basic thing is that every week, I don't care if you're not using an accounting system, you get, that muscle flexing on understanding what is going out of your pocket for your business and what's coming in, so that it's always in front of you, and it kind of encourages you to go, okay, I really want to see something at that income, in the income section at the top, over just seeing stuff in the expenses. So that's a bare basics thing that you guys should be doing to monitor what's happening. The second thing that I used to do, and this doesn't have nothing to do with money, but I used to have, so I used to call that my income expenses dashboard, if you like, but I had the marketing dashboard as well. So my second spreadsheet was what kind of marketing activities did I do each week. And again, I had another display book. I probably have them somewhere stored because I did keep them for memory's sake, right? And so what I used to do is same thing in a display book. I would have week starting and ending, and I would file them away back to back in the whole display book. And I would note down what marketing activities I did every week and then what outcome those things had. Now, sometimes marketing activities don't have an immediate outcome, but what this did for me is that I would see how many things did I put out there? How many things did I attend as events? How many people did I potentially speak to? Did I do a speaking gig? So I just used to document it, and if that sheet did not have more than 7 different things that I actually did as a way to market my business, I would be like, okay, I'm not really doing anything to generate leads and prospects and all that sort of stuff. So I always used to fill it out. Now, what kind of things do you put on that sheet? Well, everything that has to do with you promoting and putting yourself out there and being noticed. So definitely attending a networking event is a marketing activity. Posting on social media, emailing your database, doing a speaking gig, running an event, having a potential joint venture discussion, prospect conversations and things like that. So all of those different things, as long as there's a potential of someone to notice you, and then obviously perhaps inquire about your business, that's also a marketing activity. So I would have those two, that every Sunday I would sit down and I would fill them out and I would look time and time again. Now, a lot of the things that we try sometimes don't work. They say 9 out of 10 things you try in marketing are not going to work, but you find that one thing that does, and you find your top 3, as I like to say, and then you do those over and over and over again. So you rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And this is what the first couple of years for me was about, is figuring out what are my top 3 things that I need to do to that really work for me, that I need to invest most of my time in. Of course, I always trial new marketing strategies, but I keep to my top 3, which obviously are the bread and butter in terms of keeping the business sustainable and long term. So that's the income and expenses spreadsheet and the marketing dashboard spreadsheet. The next thing is GST. Okay, so a lot of people hold off on getting registered for GST, but I noticed with GST, and this is only coming from the other day, Adele, who I hung out with in Newcastle, she's a money mentor and a financial advisor and all that. She said, actually, it's a good thing to register for GST as early as possible in business, because you could be making savings on obviously the GST that you pay for, to other people. And I think it's also to do with a mindset thing as well. Certainly, I spoke to somebody who I met on this trip, and I said, are you registered for GST? Because I said, what you do with me, would have significant amount of GST you can claim back, which would be a saving towards this investment. And she said, no, because the GST would require a lot more bookkeeping and all that sort of stuff. I don't think being registered for GST requires to do any more bookkeeping. To fill out my BAS, it literally takes me 3 minutes. Why is this? Because I reconcile monthly, which everyone should be doing that, because then you know what cash flow has come in, what cash flow has gone out. You can look at your report of your sales, all of that kind of stuff. And when you if you reconcile monthly, you literally just go to the GST report and you go paid, collected, whatever, and you fill out that little form. So I don't think it requires, yes, you got to do it quarterly, but you should be anyway reconciling monthly your accounting, so that you don't forget things, or, you're sort of like right on top of things, and you can see your reports as well. So I think, holding off on GST is perhaps even mindset-wise, it stops you from going above that 75k barrier here in Australia, which you have to be registered for it. So that's my opinion on it. I think people should register sooner rather than later, especially if they can. There would be significant tax advantages for them to be registered for it. And definitely, I don't believe it's if you've got your systems down pat, it doesn't take any more. You still got to do your bookkeeping. So I think filling out a form for 3 minutes and sending it and submitting it keeps you right on your tip of your on your toes, which is a good thing for us. Okay, so the following one on my list is front end and back end numbers. Okay, so a lot of the time and a lot of our effort and a lot of our work happens at the front end, where we are marketing ourselves. We're running introductory seminars. We are writing a lot of content we don't get paid for. We're doing Facebook Lives right now, which are completely free and, for our communities and networks. So the majority of our work as entrepreneurs, and in this specific industry, like what you guys most of you guys that follow me are in, and I'm in, it requires us to do 80 to 90% of our effort and our investing of our funds, at the front end. So it's really, really important to know how much money am I spending at the front end, and what is my outcome at the back end. So do you understand, for every marketing dollar that you've put in, what is the outcome at the other end? Like, you said, do you need to spend $10 to get $100? Thanks, good. Good morning, and good morning, Melissa. So how much money do you spend at the front end that's going to result in X amount of revenue at the back end? Do you know those figures? Sometimes when you're super early on, you don't know, because there's not a clear picture of what you are, who you are, what your niche is. You're still refining all of those things, but each and every year you should understand more and more about what the numbers tell you about your business. And a person that could help you with that is obviously your bookkeeper, accountant. People like that can look at it and go, oh my God, no, you're spending too much on advertising, or no, you're not spending enough. Maybe you should put in more there, or cut down on this area and this. You can tell a picture from your reports. If you don't know how to read them, then of course get some assistance in someone helping you read them, so that you understand when do you need to tighten your belt, when can you invest, so that the potential in the future is higher for you. So that front end, back end numbers, what the difference is, so that you have the confidence to stand, to say, here's my whatever 10-20 grand, and I know for spending these 10-20 grand I'm going to make 150 or 200,000, because it's scary as shit having to putting forward money that you just don't know where it's going to go. Where people have fear around paid advertising is when they don't know their numbers. If they don't know their numbers, they kind of go, oh my God, it's like I'm just flushing $20,000 down the toilet, right? You don't do that. Okay, you have to know your numbers. Even before you start any paid advertising, you should know how many people did you need to speak to get an X sale in your business, and to start noticing, how many conversations with potential prospects you have to get to the, to get through all the no's to get to the yes. And we know in business we are always going to have a higher percentage of no's over yeses. Yes, that does and decrease, but still at the end of the day, we still tend to get a lot more no's than we get yeses, when we work with people and with what we do, right? It's a lot more heavily weighed on the other side. And just knowing that every no you're close to yes is for me, it's very relieving, because I know, okay, well, this was a no, and this was a no, and this was a no. There's bound to be a yes here somewhere, and you just keep moving forward. And yes, and you have to learn how to deal with your mindset with those no's. Okay. Ad spending and tracking, it was my next one around numbers. So I talked about, knowing your front end and then knowing what you spend on the back end. Now with ad spend and tracking, so it can be a little bit weird. Okay, so what happens is when you start paid advertising, you obviously got to test and measure. So you might spend a lot more revenue at the front end of that, testing for the first 3 to 6 months. And that's generally what I would recommend. It's just test for the first 3 to 6 months and figure out, obviously hire an expert. Please don't do this yourself. I tried doing it myself and it just didn't work. So I hire a team that's going to do it, that's going to manage it. And obviously we work very closely together. Stuart is on a weekly phone call, and we're testing and tweaking and all that kind of stuff. So expect that at the front end, the numbers will be kind of like, shit, I'm spending $500 to get a person in the room. It might not be like that. I'm just over exaggerating, right? But eventually, maybe you'll get it down to $60 to $80 per person in your event, or whatever your conversion statistic is. So do track your ad spend. So what I do is I'm not going to show you this, but I'll get you to imagine it. I have this mega big spreadsheet, and I've got all of my event dates for the whole year, okay? And then, so I've got the event date, and then the next thing is I've got how much, how much did I spend for that event? Then the next thing I have is how many tickets did we sell and what was the revenue from those tickets. Then what were we in the green or in the red in terms of, because obviously there's income and some expenses. Then the next thing is how many people actually turned up, how many were from the Facebook ads, and how many did I get in the room, maybe from my speaking gigs and things like that. And then after that, and also how many no-shows were in the room, right? So I know the total people in the room. Then the following one, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head how many. Oh yes. What were my expenses to run that event? So venue hire, travel cost, flights, food, anything like that. So what were my total expenses there? And then what was my ROI? So what was my conversion rate and dollar figure for that? And then I track all of that throughout the year. And then I look at my final conversion figure for the year. Like, what was it overall over all of those events? Because some events, you guys, let's say, for example, I run about 35 of my half-day introductory events a year, all over Australia, US, all that sort of stuff over a year. And I look at it, and it's not always identical, right? There is a common average, but sometimes you can smash it. You can have 30, 40%, and other times you can have 0. So throughout the year, let's say I have 35 events, I might end up with 3, 4, 0 events, which is like, oh my God, you could get very disheartened, and you can go, oh my God, I don't know how to sell, right? And then other times you can get 30, 40% conversion. It's like, oh, I'm smashing it. You think every event is going to be like that. But overall, if you actually had a look at it, because now I've been tracking this for 3 years, you can what your average is, and then you also know what kind of goals to set or what kind of predictions to make. Of course, we can always tweak up our skills and all that sort of stuff, but you will be able to see a pattern, and therefore with more confidence you will be able to decide, do I scale up the business? Do I want to double it? And therefore I'll put in double the, it doesn't mean you're going to have double the people, but generally you can with confidence go, okay, I want to invest a little bit more in advertising to get, say, 20-30% people more, and therefore that might mean 20 or 30% more revenue at the other end. So I keep that spreadsheet, and I update it every single time I finish an event. And then I look at the picture, and I look at the picture of what it all looks like, and it's really it keeps me calm, it keeps me in control, and it keeps me knowing and predicting what my business destiny is, as the call is called this morning. So just remember the conversion. Yeah, you'll have an average conversion, but sometimes it'll be low, and sometimes it'll be high, and sometimes to just keep. The point is, don't get disheartened. You just have to go. You just get up tomorrow and do it again, because it can. And sometimes there might be a bit of a lag on results, and it's like that uncertainty and not knowing can also feel a bit scary. All right, what else? Investments. Okay, so investments. Here's my little sheet, by the way, of what I'm talking to you about today. All of the numbers that got to do with me. Okay, so then there's investments with intangible initial outcomes. Okay, so this is where perhaps you might become a sponsor of something, or have a trade table at to advertise your business and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes these investments can be quite significant. So I always say, don't underestimate the power of these investments. That can be significant, but the outcomes of them can have a little bit of a delayed effect. Unlike, say, for example, you're advertising your event, you get people in the room, you get pretty fast turnaround in terms of knowing what your numbers are. But it's also really good to build amazing brand awareness and goodwill around your brand when you are a sponsor of other things. So of late, in the last 3 years, I've been sponsoring the Professional Speakers Association, now coming up in New Zealand, the Global Speakers Summit, And so these investments do have intangible outcomes, but they're a great thing, and they have awesome opportunities that may come up of them. So Mustafa, who I met at the recent Professional Speakers Association, he is the one that we are collaborating to launch Ultimate 48 Hour Author in Dubai. Now, that didn't happen sort of instantly, immediately. It's coming up in October. We met over in March and all that kind of stuff. And we don't even know what the outcome of all of that will be. Although we have, made certain predictions, and we're making a calculated decision to do this together over there after obviously the USA trip and all that sort of stuff. So just be mindful that you don't necessarily, every single investment that is not going to necessarily have an immediate outcome, but also you could also be investing in opportunities where you're getting surrounded by people that you can potentially collaborate with, and that can be massive. That can really end up scaling your business where because we are stronger with other people rather than alone. So that's one to think about, and to note, each year, where are you going to perhaps choose to hang out? Who are you going to hang out with? And what can that potentially look like in terms of the numbers and how it can scale your business? Covering costs, okay, is the next one. So often I always look at, what are my costs? Because we do lose out a lot at the front end. And just recently, actually, I talked to you, I said something about Adele, who gave me the tip about the GST, but then Rachel, who I stayed with my author over in Newcastle, I stayed over and we chatted for a couple of days. She goes, Nat, why don't you get some people to sponsor your the events that the rooms that you hire for your half-day events and all that sort of stuff? I'm sure those people would like to be exposed into the target market that you obviously get in these rooms. And I thought, okay, I've never thought about that, because I obviously always cover my own flights, my own accommodation, the venues and all that kind of stuff. What if I could find a couple of sponsors for my half-day events, because so many people would like to be exposed in front of over 1,000 people a year in a specific industry, right? Yeah, thanks, Kitty. And so I thought I will think about that one and figure out who that might be, because it is important to cover our costs at the front end, so that obviously that would improve our financial position, at the bottom line, and for a win-win outcome, right? So what would be a win-win outcome that will make everybody happy and ultimately a positive outcome for the business? So covering costs, always look at things like that. What is it that I can do? So for example, our upcoming book launch. So we have got a book launch for 12 of our authors coming up next Friday on the 8th of September, right? In Brighton. And I would love to see you there. So tickets are $30. Now for that $30, normally traditionally book launches are free, right? But you don't know the numbers, you don't know who to cater for. People will say I'm coming and they're not coming. So I decided a few years ago that I would actually, for my last 6 group book launches that I did, that we would put a paid ticket for it. So $30 is the ticket. So why should people pay the $30? Well, number one, we give them their favorite book on the night when they come into the room, right? So they get to choose, like they could get to look at, it's almost like a mini book expo. They get to have a look at whoever it is, and they get to take home their favorite book. They get a drink of their choice. They get a little coupon when they arrive, and there's obviously food being passed around throughout the night. Plus, it's an amazing networking opportunity for with over 100 people in the room. So for $30, they get all of those different things. So it is a win-win. In turn, we cover $10. We give $10 back to the author whose book was taken to cover their printing costs, and we keep the other $20 to cover the cost of the venue and the photography. So generally, that covers the food, the drinks, and the professional photography we have on the night. For the last 6 paid group launches, we've hardly been anything out of pocket, like $20 per author, something ridiculous. So look at ways, how can you cover your costs, either by getting someone to sponsor you, or figuring out what would you need to ask as a ticket price if it is an event to cover those costs, especially for those of you that do run events. I know Francesca does a lot of sponsors for the meetups where people, certain places sponsor her and all that sort of stuff. So it just does add up. Just continuously to put your own revenue into that can really significantly affect your profitability in your business. So therefore, do always look for clever ways of how can I end up either even or just a little bit under, because you are putting in a lot of time and effort for which you're not obviously getting paid at that point, but of course you will be when you know your conversion rate and you come out the other end. All right. Regular bookkeeping and reading reports was my next one, and as I said in my planner, on the 3rd of every month, like coming up this Sunday, it says time to do your bookkeeping, right? Time to do your bookkeeping because it's so important to have a look at, so you don't forget what things are. You know what you have input into your system. You know what's gone out. You know what sales have come in. All of that kind of stuff. And so every 3rd of every month, I always get it done, like pretty much. I'm always the first one to be at my accountant's for my whole yearly tax. I basically am of the mindset, I don't want to feel like I owe anyone any money. I want to just pay off everything that I'm, that I need to pay, because I just don't want to be stuck in a situation where, because as you grow, your revenue and your tax bills and your GST bills are going to significantly grow. And that's a good thing, right? But you also have to be mindful that you're not overspending, because that's that then you have to be keeping and stashing those money somewhere, so when the bill hits your postal box or wherever it comes from, you can pay it straight away. So my mindset is always like to manage that immediately. All right, tax planning time. We always go in April for tax planning time. To work out where we are likely to finish, what's the likely outcome of this year. So if there is any surprises, we find out a bit earlier than later. And that way we always have a pre-preparation of what we need to do, what we need to put together, what to do before June 30th. And then the last one in here, I can't believe it, I'm so good on my time. Investing and separating cash flow on a direct deposit setup. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, of course, we're in business to have a sustainable business, to be able to put food on the table, to be able to support our family and all that sort of stuff, and to grow to a point where we can become financially independent and not reliant on welfare or the pension. So in that light, when your business is viable and you can definitely put some money aside, don't just think that's just going to happen and my business account's going to top up. Please, 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 please set up stuff to be separated out of your cash flow into wherever you're going to go to set aside money. So earlier this year, we set up $1,000 a week into just on our home loan, which we can get access to that, but it's basically paying down our home loan. I increased it to $1,500 a week. Recently, I'm going to increase it again. So every time, like, I look at it, because of course I want to see myself grow, therefore I can separate more of that, because the more money you have, the old saying goes, the more money you're going to spend. And it's really great if you can from now think about your future and know that you're only going to be in business probably for a certain period of time, and you're building it for exit, right? For profitable exit, and so that you can then live out whatever life you want and however else you choose. So definitely think about separating a certain amount. Dr. John DeMartini talks a lot about this in his books and how he always increased his savings. So he would start saving like $100 a week or whatever, and then he would increase that. He would look at it in about 2 or 3 months and increase it more and more and more. And you know what? We just get used to living on a certain amount. No matter how much we have, people live on $100 a week or they live on thousands of dollars a week, right? So we just get adjusted to what that is. So if you kind of separate it on direct deposit and you don't see it, then it's set and forget, and you don't have to think about the future. You know, it'll happen then. It'll be there for you to access when you want to invest into something. So right now we hired a person to do our 10 to 20 year property plan kind of thing, and we are wanting to buy our 4th property, because on my vision board just right here I have got, I don't know if you can see, where is it, just down there at the bottom, you can see those 10 houses. One of my things is to have 10 houses by the age of 45. So I don't know how I'm going to do it, but of course I'm going to talk to an expert who might be able to help me. And by being able to set aside, you know, some of my cash flow to be able to reinvest in things, then of course that's going to start to become more of a reality, because it's not, the point of having a vision board is not just to have it sitting there and looking at it and go, oh, wish and hope it's going to happen. We've got to put a plan in place, and also talk to people who know what they're talking about, because that area is not my area of expertise. So guys, it's 9:30. I've had an awesome time. I know I've talked so fast this morning. I trust all of this has been valuable for you. What was the most valuable thing that you learned today? Post it up below. If you've been watching this recording, I would love to hear what you found. But the numbers in your business are really the bloodline of it, and they tell you about the destiny of what things are going to happen in 6 to 12 months time or longer. And you know how to predict when a sales boom is going to happen, when you're going to need to tighten your belt, when you're going to have to put aside money for tax and GST and all that kind of stuff. And of course, they really show you the truth in the picture. At the end of the day, we also have to operate with you know, within a level that we also allow for things to happen. But Helen says, good advice, the academy loves this. Yeah, at the same time, you know, I'm not all just about numbers. I love the fact that, you know, I understand them more and more. The more years I've been in business, the more that I understand them very clearly, and I keep finding more and more numbers that I need to be aware of. So that's why I've kind of run through my list of everything that's happened over the years, probably in a chronological order. But I just hope that you guys also focus on them, but at the same time, of course, allow for things to flow into your life. Know your numbers, because also the universe will not give you any more cash flow or revenue or clients if it doesn't think that you are able to handle that. Okay, I always say, because he doesn't want you to get into trouble. If you don't know how to handle massive amounts of money, you know, a couple of $100,000 of tax is not a small amount of tax to have to pay a year. You know, you're not going to get given that much of revenue if you don't know how to put aside that, because wouldn't want you to get into trouble. All right, so that's been our Monday morning. I trust, as I said, this has been valuable. This was Kitty's idea last week to bring out and talk about various numbers. Probably you might need to watch it a couple of times in case I've talked way too fast. Hope you made lots of notes. And next week, yes, I think we're back on. I think my diary is, my diary is clean at 9 a.m. As always, try to keep it that way. If you have any idea for a topic for next week, I would love to hear, and I'll bring it out for you guys. But for now, have an amazing week. Go and smash it out. I'm going to go and prep one of my authors who's coming to my house. I love the house preps. At 10 o'clock. Go make myself a coffee now, and I'm ready to go. Have an awesome week, guys. Smash it out.